Hello there. I'm Detective Rex, and you're listening to the podcast where family secrets come to light and justice always finds a way. Today's case, it's one of those that made even my tail stop wagging. A mother-in-law, a wedding, and a hotel empire that nobody saw coming. Are you ready for this emotional roller coaster? Then smash that like button, hit subscribe, and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. Now, let's meet our guest today. Mrs. Thelma, the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Detective Rex. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but what happens when it's served at absolute zero? What happens when the person who tries to destroy your family doesn't realize they're messing with someone who built an empire from nothing? My name is Thelma, and this is the story of how my daughter-in-law tried to erase me from my son's life, not knowing that I literally owned the ground she planned to walk down the aisle on. Let me start from the beginning because every family war has its first battle, and mine began the day Erica walked into my son Miles' life. I thought I was getting a daughter. I was so wrong. Have you ever met someone who smiles while stabbing you in the back? That was Erica from day one. Sweet as honey in public, venomous as a snake when we were alone. She had this way of making every family gathering about her, every conversation a competition. But I tolerated it because Miles was happy, or at least I thought he was. Love makes us blind, doesn't it? And my son was so blinded by her charm that he couldn't see what the rest of the family noticed immediately. The first red flag should have been Thanksgiving 2 years ago. Erica insisted on hosting even though we'd been doing it at my house for 37 years. She said my cooking was too traditional and that it was time for new traditions. Can you imagine? 37 years of memories dismissed because Princess Erica wanted to play house. But I bit my tongue and brought my famous pumpkin pie anyway. When I arrived, do you know what I found? My pie in the garbage. Not even hidden. Just sitting right there on top like trash. When I asked about it, Erica laughed and said, "Oh, I made my own desserts. We didn't need yours." The way she said we like she was speaking for my son, like she had already erased me from his vocabulary. That night, Miles didn't even notice I left early. He didn't call to ask why I barely spoke during dinner. That's when I knew she was winning, and I was losing my son piece by piece. But the real war began 6 months later. Erica started planning their engagement party without telling me. I found out from my neighbor who saw the invitation on social media. My own son's engagement party, and I was the last to know. When I confronted Miles, he looked genuinely confused, said Erica was handling all the party planning and assumed she'd told me. Assumed the engagement party was a nightmare. She'd invited all her friends, her extended family, even distant cousins, but somehow forgot to include my side of the family. My sister drove 8 hours to be there only to find out she wasn't on the guest list. Erica just shrugged and said there must have been some confusion with the RSVPs. That night, I went home and cried for the first time in 20 years. Not because of the humiliation, though that hurt. I cried because I could see where this was heading. She wasn't just marrying my son, she was rewriting his entire history to exclude me. But here's what Erica didn't know about me. 30 years ago, when I was 25 and pregnant with Miles, his father left us. Just packed his bags one night and disappeared, leaving me with nothing but a baby on the way and a determination that no one would ever make me feel powerless again. I took the small inheritance from my parents, every penny I could scrape together, and bought a small rundown hotel on the outskirts of town. People thought I was crazy, a single mother investing in hospitality, but I had a vision. I worked 18-hour days, cleaning rooms myself, handling reservations, doing the accounting by hand. Miles spent his childhood in that hotel lobby, doing homework behind the front desk while I built something from nothing. One hotel became 2, then 5, then 15. By the time Miles graduated high school, I owned the largest hotel chain in our state. But I kept it quiet, drove a modest car, lived in the same house, never flaunted the wealth because I wanted Miles to have a normal childhood. The irony, Erica thought I was just some lonely widow, with too much time on my hands. She had no idea that the controlling mother-in-law she was trying to eliminate controlled a business empire worth hundreds of millions of dollars. She never asked about my work, never showed interest in how I supported myself. She just assumed I was some pathetic woman clinging to her son because I had nothing else in my life. How wrong she was. The wedding planning began, and with it Erica's campaign to completely remove me from the picture intensified. She scheduled all the planning meetings during my work hours, then complained that I wasn't involved enough. She chose a dress style that she knew I'd find inappropriate, then got upset when I gently suggested alternatives. Every decision was designed to create conflict, to make me look like the difficult one. And slowly, I watched my son start to see me through her eyes. The final blow came 3 weeks before the wedding. Miles called, his voice strained. He said he needed to talk to me about the wedding. My heart started racing because a mother knows that tone. "Mom," he said, and I could hear Erica coaching him in the background, "we've decided to keep the wedding small, very intimate, just immediate family." I felt relief for a moment, thinking maybe this meant less stress. Then he continued, "Erica's parents, her sister and a few close friends. We really want it to be perfect, you know?" I waited for him to mention my invitation. The silence stretched on until I realized he thought he'd told me everything I needed to know. "Miles," I said carefully, "what about me? What time should I be there?" Another pause, a long horrible pause where I could hear them whispering. Then my son said the words that shattered my heart. "Mom, we talked about this, the venue is really small, and Eric thinks it might be better if you watched the live stream from home." Watched the live stream of my own son's wedding, like I was some distant relative who couldn't afford to travel. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my kitchen, looking at photos of Miles growing up, remembering every sacrifice I'd made, every dream I'd put on hold to give him the best life possible. I thought about calling him, begging him to reconsider, maybe even threatening to cut him off financially. But then I realized something. Erica had given me the perfect gift. She'd shown me exactly who she was. And more importantly, she'd created the perfect opportunity for me to show her who I was. You see, I knew exactly which venue they'd chosen for their intimate wedding. The Grand Rosewood Hotel. 5-star luxury, stunning ballroom, capacity for 300 guests that they were claiming only held 50. I knew all these details because I'd been there for the tasting 6 months earlier, back when I was still included. Erica had gushed about how exclusive it was, how lucky they were to get a date there. What Erica didn't know was that the Grand Rosewood Hotel was the crown jewel of my hotel empire. The flagship property that I'd built from the ground up 15 years earlier. Every crystal chandelier, every marble tile, every piece of artwork. I had personally selected it all. The venue she thought was too small for her future mother-in-law. I owned every square inch of it, but I didn't tell them. Not yet. Instead, I did what any smart businesswoman would do. I waited. I let them continue planning their perfect wedding while I made plans of my own. If you're enjoying this story of family drama and you want to see how this plays out, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because the revenge is about to get ice cold, and the twist is going to blow your mind. 2 weeks before the wedding, Erica called me. Not Miles, but Erica herself. She'd never called me directly before. Her voice was sickeningly sweet, that fake concern she used when she wanted something. "Thelma," she said, "I hope you're doing okay with everything. I know the wedding situation is disappointing, but I wanted to make sure you understood that this isn't personal." Not personal. She'd convinced my son to exclude his mother from his wedding, and it wasn't personal. I let her talk, let her explain how they were just trying to keep things simple and stress-free. The audacity of this woman, asking me to be supportive of my own exclusion, was almost impressive. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. "I also wanted to let you know that we won't be able to do that big reception we mentioned. With the cost of the wedding and honeymoon, we just can't afford another party right now. But maybe next year, for our anniversary, we can all do something together. Next year, maybe." She was telling me that not only was I not invited to the wedding, but there would be no other opportunity. I was being completely cut out, permanently. That's when I knew it was time to play my hand. But I'm a strategist, not an emotional reactor. I thanked her for calling, told her I understood their position, and wished her a beautiful wedding day. I could hear the surprise in her voice. She'd expected tears, arguments, maybe even begging. Instead, I gave her exactly what she thought she wanted. My complete surrender. The next morning, I called my hotel manager at the Grand Rosewood. "Patricia," I said, I need you to pull up the Henderson Smith wedding booking for next Saturday. There was a pause while she looked it up. Yes, Mrs. Thelma, I have it here. Beautiful ceremony set up in the main ballroom. Actually, I said, and I could feel the smile spreading across my face, there's something they need to know about it. I want you to call the bride this afternoon. Tell her there's been a problem with their booking. A double booking situation that we just discovered. Their wedding has to be moved. Patricia was confused. But ma'am, there's no double booking. I know, I said, but what Erica doesn't know is that I've decided to host a very special event that day. A private family celebration, and as the owner of the hotel, I think my event takes priority, don't you? That afternoon, my phone rang. It was Miles, frantic. Mom, you won't believe what happened. The hotel called Erica and said there's some problem with our booking. They're trying to move our wedding to next weekend, but we already sent invitations, we have the photographer booked. This is a disaster. I made all the right sympathetic noises. Oh honey, that's terrible. Did they explain what happened? Something about a double booking and the owner having a private event. Erica's been crying for 2 hours. He paused. Mom, I know you have some business connections. Is there anything you can do? The irony was delicious. My son was asking me to help solve a problem that I had created. That evening, I called Patricia back. Has the bride responded to our offer for next weekend? Yes, ma'am, she called back about an hour ago. She was quite upset, crying actually. She said they can't move the wedding. Too many people traveling, too many other bookings that can't be changed. She asked if there was any way to speak to the owner directly, maybe work out some kind of arrangement. Patricia paused. I told her I'd pass along the message, but that the owner was very firm about their event taking priority. Perfect. Erica was desperate, exactly where I wanted her. But I wasn't cruel. I didn't want to ruin my son's wedding. I wanted to reclaim my place in it. Patricia, I want you to call her back tomorrow morning. Tell her the owner has reviewed the situation and is willing to consider a compromise. What kind of compromise? Tell her the owner understands, this is a very special day, and they're willing to share the venue under one condition. The owner's family must be included in the celebration. Full guest privileges, seated with the immediate family, included in all events. There was a long pause. Mrs. Thelma, are you saying? I'm saying that my family is getting married next Saturday, and I'll be damned if I'm going to miss it. The next morning, Patricia called with Erica's response. The bride had been suspicious at first, questioning why the mysterious owner was so interested in their wedding. But desperation won out. Faced with either including some stranger's family or having no wedding at all, Erica agreed to the terms. She had no choice. But the story doesn't end there, because Erica, being Erica, couldn't just accept the compromise gracefully. She had to try to control it. Patricia called me that afternoon with an update that made me both furious and determined to teach this woman a final lesson. Mrs. Thelma, the bride, called back with some specific requests about the owner's family attendance. She wanted to know how many people, where they'd be seated, and whether they could be placed somewhere discreet so they don't interfere with the wedding photos. Patricia's voice was carefully neutral, but I could hear the disapproval underneath. Somewhere discreet. This woman, who owed the existence of her wedding venue to my generosity, wanted to hide me in the back like an embarrassing relative. She still had no idea who she was dealing with. Still thought she could manipulate the situation to her advantage. It was time to change that. Patricia, I want you to call Miss Henderson back. Tell her the owner appreciates her flexibility and would like to arrange a brief meeting before the wedding to discuss the arrangements. Set it up for Friday afternoon. My office at the hotel. Should I tell her who the owner is? No, let that be a surprise. Friday afternoon came, and I was sitting in my executive office when Patricia escorted Erica in. You should have seen her face. She walked in expecting to meet some business associate, instead finding herself face to face with her future mother-in-law, sitting behind a mahogany desk in an office that screamed power and success. The color drained from her face. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. For the first time since I'd met her, Erica was completely speechless. Hello, dear, I said, gesturing to the chair across from my desk. Please, sit down. We have so much to discuss. I don't understand. What are you doing here? Where's the owner? I am the owner, Erica. I'm the owner of this hotel, and the 14 other hotels in our chain. I'm the family member who will be attending your wedding whether you like it or not. I watched the realization hit her like a physical blow. Her eyes darted around the office, taking in the awards on the walls, the family photos on my desk. Everything clicked into place. How I could afford to help Miles through college, why I never seemed worried about money. You did this on purpose. You knew we were getting married here. I knew because I was there when you toured the venue. Remember, you spent 20 minutes telling me how exclusive this place was. You never thought to ask how a lonely widow might know so much about five-star hotels, did you? The tears started then, real tears of fear and realization. She was understanding that she'd declared war on someone who could destroy not just her wedding, but her entire future. Please, don't ruin our wedding. I know I made mistakes, but I love Miles. I'm sure you do. But love isn't just about getting what you want, Erica. Love is about respecting the people who matter to the person you claim to love. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out two things. A wedding invitation addressed to me, handwritten on the hotel's finest stationery, and a contract. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to personally deliver this invitation to me, apologizing for the oversight and asking me to attend your wedding. Tomorrow I'll be seated in the front row, where the mother of the groom belongs. I'll be included in all family photos, and you'll introduce me to your family and friends as the woman who raised the incredible man you're marrying. She nodded frantically, reaching for the invitation. But that's not all. I slid the contract across the desk. This is a post-nuptial agreement. After your honeymoon, you and Miles will sign this, acknowledging that my hotel chain will remain my property, and that any attempt to exclude me from family events or manipulate my relationship with my son will result in immediate financial consequences. Her eyes widened as she read. The contract was ironclad and expensive. Any future attempts to cut me out of Miles' life would cost them more than they could possibly afford. I can't sign this without talking to Miles, she whispered. Of course you can talk to him. In fact, I insist on it. Tell him everything, Erica. Tell him how you've been manipulating family situations for 2 years. Tell him how you uninvited his mother from his wedding. Tell him how you found out exactly who you've been messing with. And then ask him if he wants to sign the contract that ensures his mother remains part of his life, or if he'd rather find a new venue for tomorrow's wedding. She was defeated, completely and utterly defeated. But more importantly, she finally understood that I wasn't just some pathetic woman clinging to her son. I was a force to be reckoned with. A woman who had built an empire through determination and intelligence, and someone who would not be erased from her own child's life without a fight. Mrs. Thelma, she said, her voice barely a whisper. I'm sorry, I really am sorry. I was wrong about everything. Yes, you were. But apologies are just words, dear. Actions matter. Tomorrow's wedding will show me whether you mean it. If you're shocked by this revelation and want to see how this wedding unfolds, smash that like button and hit subscribe because we're not done yet. The wedding day is where everything comes full circle. And trust me, you won't see this ending coming. Saturday morning arrived, and I woke up in the penthouse suite of my own hotel. At 10 a.m., there was a knock on my door. Miles stood there in his pajamas, his hair a mess, his eyes red from what looked like a sleepless night. Behind him was Erica in her hotel bathrobe. Mom, he said, his voice cracking, I need to talk to you. We sat in the living area, and Miles couldn't look me in the eye. Erica told me everything, he said. About the venue, about you owning the hotel, about uninviting you from the wedding. Mom, I don't know how to apologize for this. I looked at my son, this man I'd raised alone, who had somehow forgotten that his mother was the strongest woman he knew. Miles, honey, look at me. When he finally met my eyes, I saw the little boy who used to help me change sheets in the hotel rooms. I need you to understand something. I didn't reveal who I was to hurt your relationship. I did it because I refused to be erased from your life. You are my son, my only child, and I have been fighting for your happiness since before you were born. Erica spoke for the first time. Mrs. Thelma, please don't punish Miles for my mistakes. He loves you so much. I was jealous of that bond, and I tried to break it. I was wrong. Erica, do you know why I worked 18-hour days for 20 years? Because I wanted to make sure that no one could ever make my son feel powerless the way his father made me feel. And when you tried to take me out of his life, you were trying to erase all of that history. Miles reached over and took my hand. Mom, I never wanted you out of my life. I was just trying to keep peace, trying to make everyone happy. I see now that I was a coward. I should have stood up for you from the beginning. You're not a coward, sweetheart. You're a man in love who got caught in the middle of two strong-willed women. But here's what I need you to understand. Marriage doesn't mean choosing between your wife and your mother. It means creating a family that honors both relationships. I turned to Erica, and I need you to understand that I'm not going anywhere. I'm not some temporary obstacle in your relationship. I'm his mother, permanently and forever. You can either accept that and learn to work with me, or you can spend your marriage fighting a war you can't win. Erica nodded, tears streaming down her face. I want to work with you. I want to learn from you. I was intimidated by how close you and Miles are, and instead of trying to build my own relationship with you, I tried to tear yours down. That was stupid and cruel. Yes, it was. But it's also fixable, if you really mean what you're saying. I stood up and walked to the window, looking down at the hotel grounds, where workers were setting up for the ceremony. In a few hours, this space would be filled with flowers and music and celebration. It could be the beginning of a new chapter for all of us, or the end of my relationship with my son. The choice was theirs. Here's what I propose, I said, turning back to face them. We go forward with the wedding as planned. Full family ceremony, with me in the front row where I belong. After the honeymoon, we all sit down together and establish some ground rules for how this family is going to work going forward. And Erica, you're going to have to prove to me that you've learned something from this experience. How? She asked. By including me, not excluding me. By asking for my advice, instead of rejecting it. By remembering that the man you're marrying is the product of my love and sacrifice, and treating that with respect. Miles squeezed my hand. Mom, do you forgive us? I looked at my son, this beautiful man who had temporarily lost his way, but found it again when it mattered most. Honey, I forgave you before you even walked through that door. The question is whether you've learned something that will prevent this from happening again. I have. I promise I have. 3 hours later, I was sitting in the front row of the Grand Rosewood Ballroom, wearing a stunning mother of the groom dress. The ceremony was beautiful, elegant, emotional, perfect. But the most beautiful moment came when Miles was reciting his vows. He looked directly at Erica and said, I promise to love you completely, while never forgetting the woman who taught me how to love in the first place. I promise to build a life with you that honors both our future together and the family that made me who I am. During the reception, Erica stood up to make a speech. I want to thank someone very special, she said, looking directly at me. Miles' mother, Thelma, is an extraordinary woman who built a business empire while raising an incredible son. I spent 2 years being intimidated by her strength. Instead of learning from it, I made terrible mistakes, but I've learned that you don't marry just a person. You marry into a family, and I'm proud to be joining this family. That night, after the last guest had gone home, Miles found me in my office. Mom, can I come in? He sat down across from my desk, still in his wedding tuxedo. I am so proud to be your son, not because of this hotel, though that's incredible. I'm proud because you're the strongest, most determined person I know. You raised me to be a good man, and somewhere along the way, I forgot that lesson. I love you, sweetheart, and I'm excited to see what kind of family you and Erica build together. We want to build the kind of family that includes you, Mom, always includes you. 6 months later, Erica and I had lunch every Tuesday. She'd started asking my advice about everything from career decisions to dinner recipes. Miles opened his own consulting firm with a loan from the hotel business. A loan, not a gift. He and Erica bought a house 10 minutes from mine, and Sunday dinners became a family tradition again. Looking back, I realized that this experience taught me something too. I'd spent so many years being the strong one that I'd forgotten how to be vulnerable with my son. Our conflict with Erica forced all of us to be honest about our needs, our fears, and our love for each other. They say that family isn't just about blood. It's about choice. Every day, we choose to love each other despite our flaws, to forgive each other's mistakes, and to build something stronger together. My daughter-in-law chose to humble herself and learn. My son chose to remember his values. And I chose forgiveness over revenge. Because at the end of the day, that's what family does. We show up for each other, especially when showing up is hard. We protect each other, even when protection means difficult conversation. And we love each other enough to demand better, because that's how we all grow into the people we're meant to be.
What a journey this has been, listeners. Thank you, Thelma, for sharing your incredible story with us. Family dynamics can be complicated, but as we've seen today, Love and respect can overcome even the deepest conflicts when people are willing to do the hard work of understanding each other. If this story touched your heart, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and share this episode with at least 5 people who need to hear about the power of forgiveness and family unity. Your support means everything to our podcast family. I'm Detective Rex. Until the next case, and stick around for 2 more incredible stories that you absolutely cannot miss.